Looks like we're live on Facebook. Oh,
And we are live on YouTube.
excellent.
Well,
Hi,
happy
everyone.
Monday,
Happy
everybody.
Monday. All right, take us in, Ashley.
Yeah, welcome to Star Wars Rebels Revisited. This week is an awesome watch along. Get your Disney Plus queued up right now for season 3, episode 5, Hera's Heroes. But, as usual, we're gonna ease you into the episode and talk about some things. So
Yeah, we've got a nice amount of time before and after because we're
yeah,
just doing one episode, our new plan. And
because we
again,
like to
unless
talk.
it's a double, because we'll never make it through otherwise. You'll be stuck with us for the duration of a feature-length program.
That's right.
But tonight, one episode, Hera's Heroes. We were talking before we were on air about what a stellar cast this is, just all around. A real moment to shine for Vanessa Marshall and her character Hera. A lot of great acting in this one for her. She goes up against Lars Mikkelsen as Thrawn. This is early on in the Thrawn too. This is like season
Yeah.
4 or 5, whatever. We haven't seen a lot of him. We got a lot of Thrawn, a lot of Hera and Thrawn together. And then Hera dealing with her dad, Robin Atkin Downs, who's delightful, by the way. He's great. He signed for
Love
us when I was
Cham.
at Tops. Yeah, he plays an awesome Cham Syndulla, and he's from the Clone
Great.
Wars.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And he
look
was
at
also
everything
in Bad
connected.
Batch.
That's right.
As Cham. But this is the episode where he's obviously already met Kanan, so they're a little more comfortable with the whole scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like, oh my God, I'm meeting my girlfriend's dad kind of thing that it was earlier. But yeah, he's a little more appreciative about his daughter and the sacrifices that she's making as a leader in the rebellion, not just on Ryloth, but like elsewhere in the galaxy.
Because he, in some ways, is a great role model for the Rebel Alliance and being a politician and standing up for what you believe in, but like not a great role model as far as a parent goes necessarily. We could probably have this debate. This would be actually a really good topic for, I think, Unifying Force, because we see the same model of person in like a Mon Mothma and Andor, excellent leader in the Rebel Alliance. Is she a good mom? She's probably trying to be a good mom. Like her kid doesn't see her as such, and she's got tension with the husband, and so that home life is all a hot mess. He's in a similar boat, right? Like with Hera, he and Hera have a strained relationship.
Yeah, I think it's because she chose to leave Ryloth and join the rebellion instead of staying and fighting like he and Eleni did, and everyone else, Gobi, and the rest of his fighters. So in a way, he kind of took it as her turning her back on her people, when in reality, she was going for a much greater evil, like to get at the root of things instead of just fighting small time on one planet.
Yeah, it's that Mon Mothma left Chandrila to join the Senate. I think a lot of planets like Naboo, right, didn't have Padme because she moved to the Senate. This happens in America too, right? Like you leave your local congressional district to go to Washington, D.C., and you're working for the Fed. That tension is always there, right? How do you represent your state, your country, your planet, whatever those values are, as well as looking out for the entirety of your country or the system, right? How do you not lose yourself in doing that? And I think that's actually the really big question posed in this episode. Like the identity, like Hera's identity is at the center of it. Like, who is her family? What is she fighting for? Obviously, you can see her holding a very important artifact that is sort of the MacGuffin of the situation.
You mean
and
this?
There it is. That's amazing, by the way. All right, Ashley,
So
school
cool.
Everyone on what this thing is, where you got it, what it means. Take us to church.
Okay, so this is a pretty delicate piece of memorabilia I got from Galaxy's Edge. It's the Syndulla family Calicori, so it's exactly the one that Hera is holding in this photo, and you'll see it in this episode. This little piece here represents Kanan, and there's a good reason why it's on here. And obviously, if you've seen Rebels, you know why it's there. And every time a piece is added, it's a piece of the Syndulla family history. So if you're on the Calicori, you're a piece of the Syndulla family.
Yeah.
So
it's sort of like a tree, right?
Yeah, it's like a kind of creative family tree.
Yeah.
The pieces are carved and painted by members of the Syndulla family. There's going to be most likely will be something added here. Spectre 7,
Spectre
I guess.
7.
We haven't
Yeah.
seen it yet, you know. But
I hope
yeah,
it's green.
yeah, that'd be so cool. But it is really delicate. It's supposed to be looking like it's made of wood and it's carved, but it's resin and it's really,
Oh,
really
it's
heavy.
resin.
Yeah, so it's heavy.
I'd
Like
rather it be
this is,
wood,
yeah, I know.
right?
Like, so not only do they make it resin, but they have these little like twine pieces that hold here, here,
Yeah.
and down here together.
It could have been
And I'm
wood
just
and
thinking,
string.
could you have like steel string and you can just paint it brown? I don't care. Just it's so delicate. So I'm really like about it. But
Yeah,
I love this so much. And it was
it's
something I had
beautiful.
to have. Like if you love Star Wars Rebels, you know all about the Calicore. I've even used it in my artwork.
Mhm.
Um, it's just such a cool piece, but it's so heavy. Oh my God.
Yeah, resin is not light.
Yeah.
I know from playing in that space. This is a beautiful piece. Good job, Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
Uh,
And this is you can see it better on the side. This is how it's supposed
yeah,
to look with the all the colors and
and
the
every block
striping.
is a particular person in the family or
Right.
a generation line. Yeah,
Yep. Each family member from mother to daughter, father to son is represented on the Calicori. So it's passed down and it's the Syndulla family history. Now, I really wish they kind of went into more details. I'll have to check my Art of Rebels book and see
like
what,
who's who.
yeah,
Yeah.
see who's who.
I
And
don't
I'll
think there's a
probably,
page on it. I remember flipping
yeah,
through looking. Correct us if we're wrong in the comments. Sometimes we get it wrong, guys. I
yeah,
don't remember seeing this in the Art of Rebels book, but I'm gonna flip through it and double check. I should have done it before this episode, and I was running late. I didn't even see Frank's show. By the way, for anyone who's joining now, Frank had his Star Wars autograph, celebrating autographs
yeah, that was
show
an awesome
today.
show.
It was 6 o'clock. I think he's like it went for a little over an hour. You can watch it on the playback. I haven't even watched it yet because I was running late from other things. But I'm gonna listen to it tomorrow in the car. But
Yeah.
this is why I didn't get a chance to. I should have looked that up because I know that on there obviously is her mom and dad, and then Freddie being added, being a Freddie, Kanan being added, being the husband. We
Yeah.
believe there'll be room for Jason Syndulla, and I'm assuming she's an only child though, as far as we know. She doesn't
Yeah.
have any siblings, so it must be
Right.
all grandparents, great grandparents, like up and down the two sides of her mom and
Right.
dad.
Yeah, definitely something that Eleni and Cham have added to over the years. Um, where
Eleni, yes.
she kind of puts a little more emphasis on how much it meant to her mother. I'm
Mhm.
guessing it's the maternal side of the family.
Oh, that would make
So
sense.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's just that Syndulla's from her bloodline. So
Mhm.
it'll be interesting. I kind of wish we did have a little bit more of that. And who knows, we might see it. Dave loves his
If this
Rebels
shit
property
doesn't
and
pop up in the Ahsoka show, I mean,
I know.
what are we doing? I keep thinking
I will
anytime
cry.
there's
I promise you I will cry.
there will be a moment and it's gonna and you know what they're gonna do? They're gonna grab the one from Galaxy's Edge because it looks good enough and they're just gonna throw it on screen. It'll be in the background.
Yeah.
They've done that with other things. I've definitely seen like props in Star Wars on screen, and I was like, that's a toy. So
And
but that'd be very cool.
yeah.
Um
So
this
I'm
really
hopeful.
is a super Hera focused episode, which
Hmm.
I know is why you're very pumped to get into it. And it speaks a lot to family. Oh, let's see the shirt too.
Oh, this is from
Yeah.
Celebration Chicago. It's
Oh
just
wow.
Chrissy Zullo's artwork of Kanan and Hera, and it came with a
Very
pin
nice.
of them. So thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna always be my favorite celebration just based on my role at Celebration that year,
Oh, it
bringing
was so
talent
fun.
and including Vanessa Marshall.
Yeah.
She
I
was
really,
delightful.
oh, just amazing. Amazing
She's a
lady.
fantastic person. We got to get her on the show at some point.
It's so
That's something
cool.
we are planning for 2023 is to start bringing in some guests. I know that in the VCN proper, like the larger VCN, they've had a ton of guests pop on, particularly to the Thursday show. And in fact, this week they just announced 3 guests. And don't you know, I closed the damn page, but they announced it minutes ago of who's coming on, and it's 3 people who actually work on the production of The Mandalorian. So I didn't immediately recognize their names, but don't let the fact that they are not actors on the show deter you. I think that the behind the scenes people and the people who are getting their hands dirty in terms of like production and making the show come together often have some
Right.
of the best stories and know more about how the show gets made than the actors do. So
Agreed.
I'm excited to see what the 3 of them bring to the show on this Thursday on the VCN. I know I'll be tuning in. Last week was great, by the way.
Oh
I
yeah,
thought
so
Thursday
fun.
was tremendous.
Brendan was awesome.
Yeah, Dave, Dave, Jeff, what a get. This is what happens. I can't physically see you. So Jeff, who's our man our man in the chair tonight, almost as always. That was a really, really good show that you guys put together with Brendan. He was terrific at answering questions, and you could tell that he was just like thrilled to be there hanging out with you boys.
Yeah, so good to
he
watch.
kept reiterating the fact that he was very appreciative of the attention and the fans, and the whole side of us, what we give to him. So I thought that was very cool.
Yeah, it's something that they don't really get recognized for. It's like, oh, you're just a stuntman, but you know what? This stuff matters. Like this is how things get made. This is the creative process, and I think people are a lot more appreciative of it now, as you'll see on this week's watch along. But
so it's Mary Carr, who's
my girl,
a franchise asset coordinator, and Bryce Rankins and Brian Romero, who are confidentiality PAs, and also have a Sneaky Geeks podcast, I believe.
Tell them that I need access to some assets for some product development that they're dragging on. And so,
well, Ashley knows Mary, so maybe she can put in.
There we go. I'm going to send over a text message to get all three of them fired because I'm going to ask for things illegally. There we go. We're actually working on some Mandalorian stuff, which is very cool, but it's not up to season 3. We have no visibility to what's coming there, but that's what's really cool about like
exciting
development process, right? Like this is happening now, or the season has wrapped. I think they're done and they're in post. At this point, I mean, the show starts in March. They better not be filming anything.
I don't know. They're still filming reshoots for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. So
I mean, you know how those big motion pictures, test screening. They're not test screening for streaming. They're just making sure the story is coherent and that they can traffic it on time. But major motion pictures are constantly going through reshoots, and somehow they get squeezed in. I actually think it's something that's going to break over time. If it didn't already break in 2022 with all of the delays and the onslaught of content, they're going to have to slow down. I've been looking at like what looks like the calendar for 2024 for most major media and entertainment companies, and it's a smaller slate than 2023, which is a smaller slate than 2022. I believe 2022 is peak quantity of content year, and we will slowly be coming down because we can't absorb all this, and we're getting more and more misses versus hits.
But not only that, it was during COVID, and there really wasn't much else to do but create.
Yeah,
so
and the backlog, right? Like what couldn't flight in the theater. But we're going to get back to, I think, more tent poles with fill-ins as opposed to just onslaught. Like it's been bombardment for the last 2 years.
I mean, it's been great to be a geek and all this, like for real. There's so much good content and so much stuff that like I wouldn't even have imagined like 5 years ago that would have existed at this point in time.
It's amazing.
It's so good.
You know what triggered all this? The big news in Stranger Things was that Noah Schnapp came out as gay, which I thought we all sort of knew, but like I get it, like it's it's a big deal. The character came out, right? And then I was like, oh, I think he's gay too. I don't know, but he's like a kid. I'm not going to ask, like and everyone on their own time and all of that in privacy. And then all of a sudden he had his announcement, and then like the next day it was announced that like the whole cast was signed back for like big money. So Stranger Things has been in the news for days, and then it occurred to me, Stranger Things happened like 6 months ago. That show was out with a whole season in 2 little bumps, right? It was like May and then July. And I was like, oh my God, like I forgot that was, I was going to say this year. It was in the last year though.
Yeah.
Because so much stuff has come out. And I was saying, this is unsustainable. I love Stranger Things. I watched the first season 4 times over. Season 3, which just happened right after the long break because of COVID. I watched it through once and I literally forgot. It was great. That was season 4. Okay.
2 halves of 4.
Right. Season 3 was The Mall. Season 4 was Vecna. Season 4, I only watched through once. I actually rewatched the finale, the first part, whatever, of part 1 before part 2 picked up as a quick rewatch. But like, I didn't do the normal. There's no time to rewatch anything because I haven't watched any of the new stuff. Is anyone else struggling with this? Like, I know we shouldn't
No,
complain
agreed.
about too much anything, but like,
no, I'm totally am. Like, I
can't
haven't
absorb it
watched
all.
Glass Onion yet, which is
Yeah.
a
What?
terrible crime. I know, I'm a terrible
Well,
person.
And I've watched Glass Onion and all the wraparound content about Glass Onion. So,
And
Yeah.
I have a friend who works for Ryan Johnson directly. So I feel like the worst person ever. I haven't watched more than one episode of Wednesday.
Oh, I had to
I
make sure I
know.
watched
Oh my
it.
God. So
that's appointment television.
I know.
Jeff, you said you watched all of Wednesday,
And
right?
Yeah, I loved it.
And yet
It was
I'm
great.
sitting here rewatching The Force Awakens last night with my uncle and
can't.
Ant-Man, the Ant-Man movies, because I am so hyped for Quantumania. Like, I was reading an article that like Peyton Reed actually went to Kevin Feige and was like, look, I love the fact that I get to make these movies for you, but I'm not loving the fact that it's all these smaller, like in between the big event movies. I want an Avengers level event movie. And he's like, all right, you get Kang. And it was like, yeah.
That's very
So
cool.
I'm so excited for Kang the Conqueror and just where they're all going to go in the quantum realm. So my uncle is really excited. He's 86 and like obsessively watches the Ant-Man movies. Like, he loves them. So, and if you guys want to know what my dad looked like, look at Michael Douglas in those movies, because that's exactly what my dad looked like. So yeah, so they hold a little special place in my heart. But yeah,
I'm excited about the next one. I think it's gonna be really good. I'm excited about everything on the Marvel plate. Like, there's nothing there that doesn't have my attention. Even the stuff that I was like a little bit lukewarm on, I'm still gonna go see in the theater. There's no Marvel movie other than the very first one, The Incredible Hulk, that I have not seen in the theater, unless it was not available in theater, right? Like, which I think Black Widow. No, but we saw Black Widow in the theater. Yeah. I think all of them I saw in the theater.
I am in the same exact boat as you, and it's the only one I haven't seen in the theater. And I saw it. Where did I see it? I think I got the Blu-ray later. Like, I rented it from like Redbox or something, and I was just like, okay, I'm kind of glad. It's okay. Yeah. It's.
And that's the thing is, like, I think there's a lot of okay content. So someone described something very recently as very okay, and I was like, if that's not like the perfect indictment of this quantity of content, it's what Dave said. So I'm going to read what Dave said. I don't think the amount of content we have is sustainable. We don't have time to watch it at all. During COVID, that's all we could do. We needed it, but now it's harder to fit it all in. Right. And everyone was launching their streaming services in 2020 and 2021. Yeah. Everything was getting off the ground. So it became this bombardment of content, right? Disney Plus had to tell you everything in their back catalog, plus what's new, because we have to keep you in every week. Back before it was HBO Max and it was the DC streaming service, it was like, how many DC shows were running? Like, who the hell watched Titans? Yeah. Right? Like,
I did a little bit.
I have a couple friends, which is why I use that one as reference, but like, they were begging me to watch Titans. And I was like, I like Young Justice and nothing else. The rest of it is lost on me.
Young Justice, Doom Patrol is pretty fantastic.
I heard that was good too.
Yeah, I think you would like that one.
Yeah. And then Peacock just came out and they bought the WWE network. So between all of that new content and then Paramount Plus, and of course, Hulu was already there. Netflix was already there. We have Wow Presents. And then we have Shudder, which is all horror. Like, pick something. Like, right, because you got to get the Joe Bob and every other horror movie. I got to say, Shudder really pays for itself because it like the cost of that streaming service is buying 2 Blu-rays, of any horror movie. And that's what we would do anyway. So even though we're still physical collectors, being able to have access, especially to international stuff, I find really great, especially in horror. That's how we saw the Dario Argento movie. So that came out this year. It wasn't great. Dark Glasses or whatever. It wasn't great.
Yeah, I've heard kind of mixed things.
We would have probably gone to see that at like some shitty art house theater if we had to in New York, and then spent the same amount on the entire cost of the streaming service. So the whole economy is messed up too, right? Like, and I think part of the issue is that streaming is affordable to me as a consumer because they're not paying artists, and that's not fair. So you're seeing it as, content's getting cut, residuals are gone, and even residuals that happen on streaming are not the same as residuals on air. So there have been a few instances where actors who are like, oh, I make my living doing guest spots, or like you get onto a show for like a returning character, and you could be in a sitcom that aired on NBC and be in 6 episodes, and my money from last year was like $10,000, and now that it's on streaming, I got like $100. Like, the scale down is just like a huge drop off. So that's not sustainable for actors, producers, the key grips, everyone in production, the camera operators, like the money is not making it there. And the unions are going to have to fight for this now. So this is actually going to be like the next big fight with the unions. Remember when, when was the last time there was a strike? It was like
Scarlett Johansson fighting for residuals from the streaming service.
Right, because like the movie wasn't going to go to theater.
There's also a big writer's strike recent or in the last decade or so.
Yeah, I want to say it was 2008 because I remember it was back when 30 Rock was still on the air, and Tina Fey was sort of the face of it because like she was a writer and actor, and her show was like the flagship comedy on NBC, and I remember her being sort of on the front lines of that. And yeah, I don't remember, a lot of it had to do with like internet. It was doing promotional stuff that got flighted to like YouTube and the equivalent of that. I have to look all this up now because it feels like a million years ago, but it's the same idea that like media is constantly evolving. So you have to like adjust your contracts and everything.
Yeah, it's a really crazy time. I'm kind of glad it's going to slow down a little bit and just kind of, okay, we'll focus on the good stuff. And that way the ratings will be there. It'll be not just a flash in the pan. People will actually be absorbing the content.
Yeah. So, do you remember what happened in Thor: Love and Thunder? Someone was like, you could release all these movies. These 10 movies will make $1.5 billion. Or you could release 3 movies that make $1.2 billion. Like the quantity to get to that number, it's diminishing marginal returns. Like, I'm like, I get it. I totally get it.
Agreed.
Meanwhile, I don't want to turn off anything, by the way. I want more art. I want more content. I want more of everything, but actually at the moment I want less of everything and more good stuff. Like I'd be fine if like there were fewer items if they were all good. I'm not saying we should cancel stuff. I don't want to go down that route of like
speaking of cancellation, Netflix canceled Inside Job. I love that cartoon.
I never even heard of it. That's the other problem. There's too much. Like I only heard about it when it got canceled.
Yeah, Alex Hirsch from Gravity Falls was in charge of a lot of it. So it's a lot of the crew that worked on Gravity Falls. There was another creator, of course, but yeah, Alex worked on that, did voices for it. Really, really cool, really well done. And they had announced there was a season 2, and then they were like, nope.
And that's a problem because if you promise people there's a job and then you cancel it, how can the studios get away with that? Like,
and another beef I have, it's like another beef I have with it is like it left you on such a cliffhanger, like a huge cliffhanger, and now it's like the My So-Called Life thing where it's like, will she go with Jordan or will she go with Brian? Neither, because the show is over. So sorry, I'm still bitter. 12-year-old me is still bitter.
Look, there are people still screaming for a second season of Firefly. It's like you need to give it up. I love that show, but it's not coming back.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, we should get ready to start our watch along, and then we'll start talking about Rebels again. I know we're going to do it. You're going to do it, guys. I will say it's been a weird few weeks in media and entertainment. So I think all of this is going to come to a head, even when it comes to Star Wars. How many things have been announced that didn't make it? Like, or aren't going to be made. We don't know. Where's that Lando show?
Republic, Lando.
That one we know is canceled. At least we don't know what's going on with Lando. The Taika Waititi movie, the Rian Johnson trilogy. Pick a project, right? We can go through that old list and like there's.
You got to give your thoughts on Bad Batch episodes 1 and 2. There.
Yes, we should definitely talk about that as we jump into this. All right.
Yes.
Do you want to do our countdown, Ashley?
Sure. Okay, we're gonna start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, play.
And just a reminder, season 3, episode 4, episode 5, Hera's Heroes.
Oh,
these
blurgs be loud, yo. And yes, they are blurgs.
Yes, which we then see in The Mandalorian.
Yeah. And troopers on speeder bikes, which we also see in The Mandalorian.
And by the way, that is Numa, played by Catherine Tabor, who's probably better known for being Padme in the Clone Wars, but she's also Numa in the Clone Wars. So some continuity here. Cham Syndulla is played by Robin Atkin Downes, who we talked about earlier in the Clone Wars, and he's back. So this is like a direct sequel episode to the Clone Wars, which Rebels has a few of those that pop in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So the Empire is mining pieces of Ryloth to kind of weed out the rebels.
Ryloth's been I mean, that planet, man, it has been a target and dealing with Imperial nonsense for multiple time periods at this point. And we saw some of it in Bad Batch in season 1.
Yeah.
I'm still nervous about Hera's mom.
Me too. Oh my God. And Hera's coming to the rescue.
Yep,
Love it.
there's the ghost.
So we have Gobi in with the rebels.
They're so cute. With their little Tyrannosaurus arms.
And it's cool that they have like repurposed armor from, you know, either stormtroopers or other rebels, like just helping them. Shoot it down. You ain't shooting down the ghost.
Need to
Come on now.
start firing. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, Ezra should have taken them out by now. There you go.
Yeah.
That guy's still. Oh my God! Come on, guys, get it together.
Like you're supposed to shoot all of them.
Also, shoot to kill, which Ezra had no problem doing in the premiere. Remember, he was on a kill count of his own in that season 3 premiere. I know that feels like months ago. By the way, I know we started our season 3 watch along before Christmas, and then we've had a series of episodes that have been non-watch alongs.
I love this line.
Yep.
You didn't think that through, did you? The feel of the fists on those helmets. So Hera is helping out Ryloth, getting them supplies, but now those are blocking. Chopper's like, "What are you talking about?"
And this is an indication that even though Hera is part of the larger rebellion, she's always going to try to help her dad and her family and her planet. Like she hasn't given up on her home planet.
Definitely not. And I think that's what Cham has realized. That's why, he's made amends with her.
Yeah.
Oh, the Calicori. Ta-da! Each parent adds to the artwork.
And of course, that's something Sabine would love because it's art.
Yeah.
There's actually quite a bit of art in this episode. And Sabine being our resident artist and Thrawn being a collector of art, I always felt that there needed to be a stronger confrontation between the two of them. It happens later in the season where, like, it's not Thrawn, but it's another guy. Like, remember when she's trying to decipher the world between worlds? And that little, like, doyen of types was, like, trying to get her to explain what the Mortis mural is and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Thrawn would have known what that is. Like, I don't think he would have needed that guy, but I guess this is like direct to the Emperor. I don't know.
Yeah,
but like
he looked like a mage sent from the Empire.
Yeah. So. I was like, that was the perfect opportunity to have Thrawn and Sabine sort of throw down right there. I like that Ezra has his own stormtrooper armor now.
I would love to get a painted Ezra helmet or two.
I know. I would love to do something like that. And that particular type too, the Scout Trooper, I really like that sort of square.
Yeah.
We're actually doing a classic Stormtrooper. So like not the Scout, but the classic OT straight out of A New Hope, ABS
Sweet.
Plastic. And that is coming out next week, next Tuesday, the 17th.
Woohoo.
Yep.
I've always loved how the visor came down on the front of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Flip it up and see your whole face.
Yeah.
And then flip it down and have the whole face covering.
I always wanted the hat helmet visor situation that they wear in Return of the Jedi, the three of them, Han, Leia. Like it's sort of a helmet, but it also has a visor.
Yeah. That'd be so sick.
Half hard, half soft goods.
Yeah. Like that
I'm rooting
really
for that.
Cool. It's very functional. Whoever came up with that.
All the Captain Rex cosplayers are gonna be rocking that if it comes out.
Yeah.
So just
curious to see what the big costume is going to be this year at Celebration.
Yeah.
I've seen an uptick in Bad Batch cosplayers, especially with like modifying it to the new paint job. So that's been cool.
Troopers are
Now,
always like
yeah.
they're a staple. I think we're gonna see a push away from new trilogy to Troopers First Order back to classic and probably to clones. I know our clone stuff is doing really well. They seem to be all over the place.
And
I like
Hot Toys is dropping like all the return of Attack of the Clones for the 20th anniversary. And then they just released Clone Wars Obi-Wan finally after like 2 years and me waiting and being stressed out. So now I have him coming.
Well, supply chain. I was telling someone recently, I was like, it's just as bad as it was 2 years ago. We've just figured out how to navigate around it, but like the same backups are coming. It's bad, which is why things have slowed down too. Like, I don't know if you've noticed, but lots of other places have stopped doing their pre-orders or at least like slowed down their quantity of product because like it's hard to lock in delivery dates and secure containers and all that stuff. I was telling someone, I was like, have you noticed that you can't find paper cups anywhere because they're being made in China and they're more expensive to ship than you can sell them in? It's crazy. So that's the kind of stuff that gets hurt the worst, like printed paper plates and cups. Like that's a problem. I can make money on my product. I have a higher price point, but like you're shipping air when you're shipping paper plates.
Yeah. That was a really sad scene, like Chopper with the wide wing.
Yeah. Oh.
Like he just still has issues with it, so he just sits there like grumbling to himself about it.
I like this where she's infiltrating, and we're in Thrawn's collection. Yeah, like look at that family photo.
I like that it looks like it's all like oh god, I can't even think of it.
It's like shattered glass or almost like journalism.
Like a mosaic.
Oh, there it is.
Mosaic.
Glass mosaic, kind of. Well,
so you won't see this piece yet, but the rest of it is there. Nice. Yeah. And the way it's lit, it looks like stained glass.
Yeah, the animation is gorgeous. I will say the only thing about this episode, I still kind of can't believe she went back for an item. I know it's super sentimental. I know it means everything about her family, but it's still just an object. And it's the kind of thing where I'm like, I get it, but also I kind of don't get it. Like, why would you enter the lair of the lion?
I think her emotions just kind of overwhelm her because I'm trying to think about the time frame here. So not only has she lost her mother at this point, but maybe she suspects that she's pregnant.
And it's possible.
Showing. So it's something that she's like, that's why it's so important to her to have this because something's going on.
And the dad specifically told her about it. So it almost seems like he's planting the idea for her to go get it,
Yeah.
And everyone did say they'd support her in this mission. I mean, like the ghost family, the biological family, or I should say the species family. So not just the dad, but like Numa and everyone. So all the Twi'leks, all the ghost people were like, yes, we're in. We're going to help you on this.
Right. Oh, Slavin, go away. And they mentioned earlier that the attacks were more faster and more coordinated than Slavin is used to. So that's because Thrawn came in and took over.
Yeah, he's a master tactician, a wonderful collector of art. He knows how to set a trap. Obviously, we're going to find out like he set all this up, to lure them into the trap, and it worked. Thrawn. This is why Price wanted Thrawn. Price was like, this group of rebels has outwitted not just the regular Imperials, but they actually killed the Inquisitors. Even Vader couldn't capture them. We need someone who's operating on a higher level and to figure out what their plan is. And can we get to the higher levels of the rebellion? And they make it all the way up to Sato. Like, I would say that like that's a successful mission when all is said and done. When Thrawn takes down Sato at the end of season 3, like that's a big deal. He doesn't know who's above that, unfortunately. And in a perfect world, you would have been able to like interrogate Sato and find out that he's reporting into like Bail Organa and Mon Mothma, right? Which I'm assuming anyone would suspect. They're like the biggest dissenters in the Senate, but like how are they funding it and all of that? But yeah, Thrawn's always a step ahead.
I really wish they hadn't gone back in. I don't know why they went back in. Like, just leave. Don't stick around.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, there's a lot of emotional decision making in this episode where I'm like, this doesn't track with Hera's usual personality.
Yeah.
And maybe Thrawn was banking on that, you know? Like, how do you get to her?
Like, he knows instantly who she is. Like, he's not shocked by any of it. And Chopper just goes, woo, and gets out of the way.
Oops.
There's that French accent again.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus. I like that Ezra's
like the only speeder bike guard.
He's so little. He's a little short for a stormtrooper.
Very lucky that size trooper came into their midst.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Bring her to my office for questioning. Girl. Ezra, use the Force and choke him. Mm-hmm. Or, kill everyone. And this is why you have to kill everyone. And that's gonna be the pull quote from me doing episode reviews. And that's why you should have killed him. And then it just like cuts to whatever edit.
Directed by George Lucas. Or directed by Dave Filoni. And Slavin's completely taken by her ruse. And Thrawn's just like, nah. Oh, girl, you might not want to sit in front of a painting of yourself.
If her mom didn't look so much like her, it wouldn't be as big of an issue.
Yeah, agreed.
I think it's harder to say that's her as a child, but
that's so rude. A primitive native trinket. They're so I want to say xenophobic, but that's not the right word. It's when like a colonial power thinks less of an indigenous group, and there's a specific type of like racism word for that, and I am blanking on it. I need my thesaurus, but it is a form of racism nonetheless, and they are clearly doing it from that like position of power and colonialism.
Thrawn isn't, but Slavin definitely.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Thrawn, I actually think like is probably the like not racist, and actually doesn't think less of anyone based on their species. And he just thinks that he's in the right. If anything, he thinks he is superior.
Like, sir, she's just a peasant. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the fact that she looks like Eleni just kind of
yeah.
Way to go, Ezra.
Oh, it's a bit late for that.
Yeah.
Ethnocentric. Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, there's a lot of that in Star Wars. And in fact, I would say Andor gave us a good example of that as we were talking about like the in-universe explanation as to why there aren't that many aliens on screen. The capital, Coruscant, is humanoid. It's all, we'll say, Earth-like people. And they do think less of the other aliens and they don't give them positions of power. You see it here, like just the way this is situated. Like, yeah, if your home world can be exploited, they will exploit you. I like that. It doesn't belong in a museum. It belongs with the people who made it.
Yeah.
That's another thing too. Do you remember that Instagram or that TikTok or Twitter account of those two guys who are going around pretending to pack up like major artifacts and buildings and stuff and saying that it was the British Museum capturing everything?
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah. And the British Museum had to block them.
That's nuts.
Yeah, it's true though. It's like, where's it supposed to be? It's wherever it's supposed to be. It's at the British Museum. Oh, this
But
guy.
you see Thrawn lose his cool there, and you never see Thrawn lose his cool.
Yeah.
So it's just
a little glimpse of things to come. He's going to be undone by the idiots around him. Cassius Constantine is probably the best example of that, like messing up what would have been his major victory at the end of season 3, when they raid Chopper Base and they take out the Bendu and they kill Sato. Like all that stuff goes his way until Cassius messes it up. So him being surrounded by idiotic Imperials as opposed to everyone working together, if the Imperials could all get along and we're, not trying to backstab each other and all of that, like they would actually be much more effective. We don't want that, but that would certainly be the case.
I'm kind of glad that Thrawn let Slavin handle this because, Thrawn would have made it worse.
Yeah.
Their house is so pretty.
Dave, I don't think the humanoids want to interact with the aliens.
Oh, hello, Miss T.
Yeah, you're right, Sarah. Scar was also undone by idiots around him.
And his own big mouth.
There's a great YouTube. It's like Scar was right, and I love those types of things, right? Where they take the villains like very like a slice of his life philosophy, and it was like, well, all of these things were correct, but like maybe he shouldn't have like tried to kill his brother and his nephew. And I was like, yeah, let's start there. That's the bigger problem. He wasn't correct when he became a murderer and an attempted murderer. Right? It doesn't matter what the rest of your philosophy is, but yes, he was also surrounded by idiots, and then the hyenas ate him, so that was fun.
Because he opened his big stupid mouth.
Yeah. Well, it was the hubris in the end that got him. It's like all you got to do is not say anything. Like Simba seemed pretty defeated. Like it's the monologuing, and that was we talk about that in The Incredibles. The Incredibles is 15 years old, and they were like self-aware enough to talk about how villains shouldn't monologue.
It was so cool to meet Jason Lee at Rhode Island and get to talk to him about Syndrome and all that. So
I love that movie. Even the sequel was really good.
And that coaster is amazing in Disneyland. Like it's so much fun. Like where else can you go on a roller coaster and go through a tunnel and smell fresh baked cookies? Like it's amazing. Jack's gonna have his cookies.
Cookie num.
I remember hearing rumors that Jack was gonna get like a TV show. And it was that would have been fun.
The short.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's sort of what started the rumors, but like Disney XD wasn't going to pick it up. And now I think like streaming, they have a Monsters Inc. show.
Yeah.
Steven Stanton is a part of it, which is how I saw about it. Which I love him. So I'm going to tune in just to hear who he's playing. He could be in like, I don't know how many episodes he's in or what character he's playing, but like that's the place for that kind of spin-off stuff. Like I would love a Jack show. That would be stupid fun.
And Edna.
Oh my God, Edna, yes. Edna just outfitting. Oh my God, what if she just outfitted people and that was the whole show? It was like, I'm building your costume. I would watch that shit. Like Project Runway with Edna would be amazing.
Yes, please. I'd gladly watch that.
I saw a post where somebody wanted, I don't think they did it in the shorts, but it would be like her and Jack's, like when she was babysitting or something.
Yes, that was the short.
Yeah.
Okay. But more
you kind of see what happened when, and it's also on the coaster, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's funny. Giant Jack at the end.
I'm sorry about the house. Boom.
Oh.
See.
There we go.
Thrawn is not happy.
She blew up all that stuff. At the end of the day, it's just stuff. And I know that's hard to say, like for us, like I wouldn't want to lose, my wedding ring or like something really
or like if you had a family member who passed and you had like precious
like a photo
photos
album or something.
Yeah.
The thing too, though, is that Star Wars is not a consumer culture, right? So like everyone in Star Wars lives in, and we even saw it in Andor, which is probably the best place we've got like someone's apartment, right? He had like 2 action figures, and he was seemingly weird because he had like a box of trinkets. Like it's a very minimalist culture, even for like the major collectors. That's like a particular super high rich person thing, and it's still like very specific art pieces. But like most people don't carry around lots of things, and like the Ghost, even though they have rooms, like what do they really have? Like they don't really carry a lot of things. So this must be really important for her to want this physical object.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Queer Eye with Edna, that'd be fun too.
Oh,
That's really sweet.
surrounded by my family every day. Yeah, I definitely think, and this might be like a little out there, but like I think Hera is pregnant at this point.
The timeline would check, because from season 3 to season 4, there's not a big time jump. And I don't know what the gestation period is of her species, but if we assume that it's similar to like human females, we're going to say 9 months. So it's either just starting, or they're trying, or because Kanan doesn't make it past the midway point of season 4, and so like that's the last possible opportunity. There's been a few instances. I believe there's a video and it was like, when did Hera get pregnant? And I was like, girl, we don't have, the cameras aren't on 24/7. Like we can't just assume that whatever we see in the episodes is the entire story. So
exactly.
I know that's an emotionally heavy episode. I hope everyone else felt the same way. I thought this was one of the best when it came to learning about Hera, learning about the Twi'leks, which, I think most people, when they hear Twi'lek, they think of like the dancer from Jabba's palace, right? Like Slave Girl. Mm-hmm. And then we've got maybe Isla Sakura. It wasn't until we got Hera that we got a lot of backstory on, like, because even in the Clone Wars, we get Ryloth and as a people, and you meet Sham, but like Hera's your way in to like learn everything about the species, and the Calicori is new for this show. It wasn't in Clone Wars, and the way the family structure operates and everything. I agree with you. I think it's a maternal thing too. Like it's got to be, because bloodline, you would immediately know who the mom is for sure. Exactly. I don't think they DNA test in a galaxy far, far away. So.
So they're just it's definitely gotta be in there somewhere, and I really hope we see it again in Ahsoka, like in some form, like even if it's just like on her dresser in her cabin, like in the Ghost, like you'll see me cry. So
yeah, I know. I totally get it.
I cannot wait to set this thing up. It's so cool, but I'm so worried about how delicate it is. So
there's probably, I bet you, if you go online, there are some people who have already dealt with breakages who know how to reinforce it.
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be like forums and things like that. You're part of all those collector groups. Someone will
check.
Give you a tip. Yeah.
It might even be like one of the Facebook groups, like there's some Batu groups and Galaxy's Edge groups.
Nice. I'll have to do some research. Check it out. Yes, Catherine says she loved hearing Hera's French accent in this episode.
Yeah,
that was really cool.
If you liked it in this episode, you need to tune into the Bad Batch from season 1, because she is in that accent the whole time.
She full French.
Yes, whatever that strange pseudo French accent situation is. And actually that brings us a good segue into Bad Batch season 2. So obviously we're at the point now where we're live on Mondays. This show happens on Bad Batch happens on Wednesdays. Yeah. So we're not newsworthy to be discussing Bad Batch episodes 1 and 2. Right. But I think it was a strong start for the season. I know it was a double premiere, which I think is good. You got to pull us in without overwhelming us. 2 episodes is good. What'd you think, Ashley? I know this is your baby.
I loved how it started. You got like a little bit of growth. Obviously, you have Omega a little taller. Her hair is a little longer. Uniforms have changed, but they're right off the bat running from something. Mm-hmm. And you're like,
the crabs.
The crabs, the giant like Tamatoas.
I should have known it was like from the first 3 seconds of the episode when they put in that clip. I was like, oh, that's going to be the opening.
Yeah, it was really cool because you just see them like, oh, they're on vacation, they're just fishing, whatever, it's cool. And then you just see them running.
They pop in with that scenic shot of the island before you get the close-up of them trying to not get their ass handed to them.
Yeah, they were going to get eaten. It was what it was going
those
to come
things
down
are
to.
wicked.
Right.
And then you finding out that it was Count Dooku's planet. Not only Count Dooku's planet, but like his war chest that they're trying to rob.
Which looked really good, by the way.
Yeah, there's like so many credits in those chests of like crates of money like that could really like help them not only pay off Sid, but like get a better life for themselves.
Yeah,
and it was
this was
just,
their
like,
ticket out.
Yeah, and they came across like obviously like Tech gets injured, breaks his leg, and they come across someone who you realize that the major city on this planet has been bombed and blown to smithereens, and the Empire's taking all these war chests out of here, like getting all that
looting
those crates of money off planet.
Yep,
and you're like,
of war.
Yeah, so they're
and
just
the
trying to
ruins
like
of war. Yep.
So you have this poor elderly man who's like hiding in the woods from the Empire because everything he's known about his people on this planet, like they're more than just Count Dooku's people. They are actual like human beings or citizens of this planet.
That's what he said, right? He's like, I'm not a separatist. I'm a citizen of this planet.
Yeah.
Like I was here before the war. And I was like, right, of course, you're only framed as a separatist because you're not going along with the government of the Republic, which you never signed up for. But in the eyes of all the clones, it was the enemies, right? And I actually think the Clone Wars did a really good job explaining like who some of the other good separatists were, like Mina Bontari and Lux Bontari and all of them, right? Like those are some of my favorite episodes.
And you need that division. You need to see that it was like people who were separatists, but like just because they didn't want to be on the Empire side of things. So having his perspective and him giving Omega the little kaleidoscope, that was so cool.
That was cute. You know it's going to come, by the way, like, it's like the smoking gun situation, right? Or the Chekhov's gun. That kaleidoscope is going to come in handy for something down the line in some like
so how long
nonsensical
before we see
way.
it in Galaxy's Edge?
Wait for it. If we
like
can merchandise it, they'll do it. I think
that'd be really cool though.
It would be funny too if the kaleidoscope was like worth money, because they actually really did need the money. That's what's so frustrating. It's like, damn it, like the Galactic Empire picked up all those shipping containers. The whole mission was kind of for naught. She
oh my god, David agrees with you. Yeah, David said I was screaming at the screen at the silly tactical errors they were making. Yes, me too. Like I'm like, come on, you guys, you're like clones, you should know better. But I don't know.
This got me with Tech saying I never thought of it that way. Yeah, I felt like the real emotional pull of the episode. It was a two-pronged thing, right? It was about Omega learning that like money's not everything, right? Even though they're like desperately in need of money. So I didn't know if that was necessarily like a great lesson to learn today. And especially when she's like reaching for the treasure, I would have been like, fucking grab it. And as opposed to like fall down with it, like get the money. I was so mad. I was really that guy.
Back up. It's totally fine.
And then separately, like that they weren't separatists. They were citizens of this like planet that didn't want anything to do with this war or this government. And now they've been another genocide probably, right? Like that city wasn't blown up with people already gone, I don't think. There's probably a lot of dead bodies around there, which is, again, not great. Not a great look for the Empire, constantly
David,
exterminating populations.
That was a new character that Wanda Sykes plays in this. So that was really cool to see her on there. And maybe she'll give Hondo a run for his money if Hondo shows up.
Hondo, Sid, Wanda. I think they all have potential to form like a cute little bounty hunter crew.
pirate crew.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing. Yeah, she got to be a kid for the first time ever. That was really cool. It's kind of like, Omega on summer vacation.
Yeah.
But
my question though is like, who's the villain this season? Where was Crosshair? Like who's our villain? I didn't see Tarkin.
He killed that soldier.
Yeah, no, I saw that. And that was not super unexpected. I don't find him that compelling a villain. I don't think that you can sustain a show without a lead villain, frankly. We didn't have one in season 1. If they're going to continue to do this in season 2, we're going to lose interest quickly, I think. Because like on paper, those lessons I just talked about at the end were great. And they were 10 seconds of content. Like the rest of it, I felt like was okay. For premiere though, it was a little bit of a letdown. They were okay episodes. I'm hoping they get better. I like the art. I like the animation style. I like the way they aged up Omega. I like her with the bow. I like that they gave her a bow instead of a gun, not just because like for production reasons we don't want kids with guns. I think in universe it makes you focus a little bit more and really think about what you're doing. It's a
and
two-step
she's gotten
approach.
so good with it.
Yeah,
so good with it.
Yeah. I don't like mid-level military man as the villain, Dave. Like, and yeah, you don't even know his name. So it's not Thrawn, it's not Tarkin, it's
Admiral Rampart.
It's not Crosshair. Crosshair is so compelling as a villain because he's chosen fascism. And if he built a little crew of his own to go up against the Bad Batch in a way, like that could be good.
I'm
like,
so curious where they're gonna go with him, because when they left him on Camino, like again, it was kind of like what happened to our boy Agent Callus. They left him to die on this planet. They didn't care if he was there or not. He was just expendable,
and then
to them.
He defects. Yeah,
so
I don't think.
What are you gonna do from here?
We will not get a Crosshair redemption, nor should we.
No, I don't think we should either. Yeah. To be honest with you, I did at first, but the more I've watched, I'm like, just kind of cheapen it. It would just go the way of things.
I love his character design too, though. Like he's
merchandising.
Really exactly.
That's what Dave says.
I would like there to be like, what's the purpose of the show? We're figuring out our purpose, right? With the purpose of the purpose of the Bad Batch is figuring out their purpose. The problem though is that it seems like the show is figuring out its own purpose and it's not there yet. I don't think that you can sustain them figuring out their purpose by giving them adventures of the week without there being a literal looming threat as a big bad. Like season 1 did not have a big bad, and that's what I think is like missing from the formula. Like season 1 of Rebels had the Grand Inquisitor and Tarkin, and it was really Grand Inquisitor. Season 2 of Rebels had the 2 Inquisitors on the run, and then eventually Vader, like at the very end. But I wouldn't even call Vader the main villains. It went from 1 Inquisitor to 2 Inquisitors to Grand Admiral Thrawn. And then the finale was really the Emperor pulling the strings. Again, it was like Mortal Kombat going up the ladder. Season 1 of Bad Batch, like maybe you could say it was Thrawn, but he's in 3 episodes. Like, or no, Thrawn, Tarkin, but he's in 3 episodes, right? So, and then the other guy, some mid-level military dude, was
Admiral Rampart.
Yeah, I'm never gonna remember. And Admiral No One for 9 episodes, who is also a clone. Like, right? He's a clone, right? Yeah. Like, yeah, he's not that interesting.
No, I don't think he is a clone. He doesn't.
He just like them.
He does, but he's not, because he doesn't have that New Zealand accent. So
yeah, you're right. Yeah, he's probably his own guy. Yeah.
And he's thinner. He's not as the other guys. So.
Yeah, what are we doing with him? So for me, it's like, bring in someone, and I'm not saying you have to bring in someone you know. You don't need to bring in Thrawn. We've already done that, and he'd be too young. And Vader would be interesting in a sort of way. I don't. But then I get nervous about using Vader too much. Like you have to figure out who it is. It's not Darth Maul. Like there are plenty of villains you could pick, like that are existing, or you could build a new one. But this guy isn't it.
Yeah, agreed.
And Admiral, what's his name? Rampart.
Over the ramparts we watch. That's what I think of. Okay.
Yeah, I agreed, Dave. Poor choice in character modeling. Give him any other color hair, and that would have been enough. All he had to do was have red hair. He could have had Ashley's color hair, and it would have been enough. Like that's as far off as you need it to be. That's all right. Rant over. Sorry. I don't like stewing in the negative on this, especially because there are so many people out there who are like, I hate animation, or this is for kids. This is in Star Wars. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying for me, I'm not vibing with this show. And it's not working for me. I also don't think I'm really the intended audience. I mean, we saw the ads, and the ads kept saying, parents, the Bad Batch is on. So really tell your kids. Like, I think that's their intended audience. They're trying to go back down in age to reach the kids, while simultaneously they can pull in the Clone Wars people who are probably now parents, because it's been so damn long since Clone Wars started. If you were a Clone Wars person, I got pulled in by the Ewoks movies. I told you that. Return of the Jedi Ewoks. I'm a child of Endor. There's a generation who was pulled in by the Clone Wars. They are probably of the age now where some of them have kids and they're getting their kids into Star Wars. You can imagine that multi-generational connection happens from Clone Wars cartoon to potentially Bad Batch cartoon. I don't know if that is landing, but that seems like a solid strategy for me, which is why I think this show is aged down compared to Clone Wars. It is bleak in some ways. Like there are
But it
some
has
fucking
to
bleak
build
moments,
from
but
there
like,
because,
yeah.
Rebels started as that lower category
Mhm.
age group and it built up from there. It grew with its
Yeah.
audience. And I think that's what this will do. It just, you gotta give it time.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to keep watching. I mean, every Wednesday I'm going to tune in. We'll see how we feel about it. I will say toward the end of Resistance, I stopped watching until we got closer to the finale, and then I did a big binge. And I'm like, all right, it doesn't look like I was missing out on anything. I don't want to skip Star Wars stuff. And I feel like this is going to become one where I have to tune in intentionally because I have to.
I'm probably in like the severe minority when it comes to Resistance because there were some things I really loved about it. And there were some things where I thought like the story needed to be a little bit better on.
Mhm.
But overall, like, I enjoyed it. It was fun to
And that's the
watch.
thing. There's so many different flavors out there. I was telling someone like Star Wars really is a restaurant. I forget who came up with this. It was on Twitter and it was like Star Wars is a restaurant. And there's like sushi and fried chicken, and like seafood and French fries, and then really weird stuff over here, and then really accessible stuff over here. And there's a little bit of something for everyone. But if you're like gluten free, like you don't want any of this. And if you don't eat meat, you can't have any of this. Like it really is meant to be as broad an range of offerings as possible to not
Yeah.
exclude anyone. But
And
it
that's
also
awesome.
means like not everything is for everyone. Like I say all the time, like Resistance wasn't made for me. Like it truly wasn't. There was never a thought that like there was an adult group watching that animation that really felt like animation purely for kids, as opposed to like carryover adults who were interested in that time period and like animation as a medium. In that case, the animation really felt like a genre and it was a cartoon for kids.
Yeah, agreed. Totally agreed.
Yeah, we're also coming off of Andor. You're right, Dave.
We're so spoiled.
Everything is gonna be compared to Andor, I think, going forward, which is both a good and a bad thing. I think Andor set the template of like good storytelling and incredible acting and like the feeling we get of how we want to like appointment television. But at the same time, not everything's gonna live up to that. And stylistically, like it's some of the critiques, right? Like not enough aliens and things like that. Like you want all the different flavors of Star Wars. We wouldn't want Andor over and over and over again. We would also want Obi-Wan mixed in and Mando and everything else.
I think so. Yeah. It's like a little bit of everything for everyone. And
for
those who don't like as serious as Andor, like as serious as the heart attackness of that.
Yes.
You have
the tense show.
Yeah.
And can also be very bleak.
Yeah. And then Obi-Wan tends to, well, at least it ends with a little more hope than what it started with. It starts pretty bleak.
Yeah.
But I like that it's optional. And Book of Boba Fett is like our action figure hour where it's like all the fun stuff you can possibly imagine thrown into it. So
still with some bleakness. I was telling someone I do think a requirement of Star Wars is there has to be a bleak point in the episode.
Well,
in
it's the war part of Star Wars.
Yeah,
so
there's got to be some type
don't
of
forget.
war. There has to be a hopelessness in some case. Meanwhile, on that topic, I was actually just rewatching. Speaking of rewatching, I'm not doing new content. I got home and Jason was rewatching The Vow, which is the HBO documentary about Nexium, and he was on season 1, episode 2, which is the Bonnie Piez episode. So it's the one where they really hone in on Bonnie and they talk about her leaving the cult, and how she got out and all the things she did.
Is she on the show?
Oh my God, yeah, she helped make it. So next,
excellent. I'll have to watch it.
The Vow on HBO for everyone who's a fan of Bonnie Piez, our Aunt Beru. We are part of the Beru
Badass
crew.
Beru.
Yeah, I talk about her all the time. I feel like I'm like her personal agent over here. The show The Vow. One of the things that's interesting about it is when they were in Nexium, a lot of what they did was being recorded because Keith Raniere, the guy at the top, had a guy under him who was like videoing everything, recording everything, because they wanted to create they wanted everything captured so they could eventually turn it into their dogma, right? Because they were trying to change the world. And he really had this messiah complex. Like everything he did was so important, we can't dare miss a thing. And so foolishly, all of that became evidence A, right? It was like exhibit A, Your Honor, the video of like what was happening. So like there's so much footage. And so Mark, who's Bonnie's husband, was the key videographer and storyteller, and he's like director and whatever. He's got real credits before this. Put this together. because Bonnie was the first to, like, not the first to escape, but like the first in this group to leave and then get the other people to follow. So she helped get her husband out, who then got out Sarah, and then Sarah's husband. And that was really the trickle, the four of them.
Wow.
Sarah was the one who was on the cover of the New York Times with the branding from being in the sex cult. So that was the kind of thing where like Bonnie was the first of the four of them and had a lot. This episode was all about her journey. So if you're interested in seeing Bonnie Piez, the real woman, and like what she went through and what it took for her to escape and what she did to help bring them down, this show is amazing. And it just made me like appreciate her that much more. It was incredible.
I want to watch it, but like my uncle was a huge fan of Smallville, and he just started rewatching it again, and Allison Mack's on there, and I see her and I just go, ugh.
It's terrible.
And I know Kristen Crook was involved too, and
that's
she got
Lois
out.
Lane, right?
Lana
Wait,
Lane.
No, I thought no, isn't Allison Mack Lana? Because Lois wouldn't meet Clark until adulthood. So I think Kristen is Lois.
No, because she's on here. I don't know.
Either way,
look into that. But anyway,
Allison Mack was like in charge of the sex cult with the branding and everything, and she's still in prison. So yeah, and she's all over this because they have video. The craziest thing though, too, you watch the first episode and you're like, this is really interesting stuff. This is professional development. This is like great ways to do self-improvement. Like, and that's how they get you, right?
Kristen Crook was Lana Lang, and then Erica Durrance was Lois Lane. Allison Mack was Chloe Sullivan.
Chloe. I don't know why I thought she was playing Lana. That's the kind of thing where like
that's Kristen.
It's a newly created character, isn't it? Right, for high school. It makes sense.
I had never seen Smallville before, so I watched the first episode, and like I said, it just
I was in college when it came out, and I don't know if everyone remembers this, but like the premiere of Smallville was bumped by a week because of September 11th. Like, I don't think people remember this, but like I remember when that happened, everyone saved their TV guides and everything because all of the promotional material for Smallville is Tuesday, September 11th, coming to the WB. Like, it's plastered all over the original like material, and so people I know saved that, obviously, because it was going to be like a big. I had fraternity brothers. I was a junior in college. Fraternity brothers who like love Superman and were like ready for the show. We were all going to watch it.
Yeah, my uncle was so excited.
I didn't really care that much. I was into Buffy. I was into Dawson's. I was already watching too much TV for college. And I was like, Smallville, we'll see what happens, right? It's another WB show. We'll see how it goes. And of course, like it didn't air on Tuesday, September 11th. It got moved to the 18th, obviously. But I know lots of people who kept all of those ads, all like the TV guides, everything from that day because of that. And so Smallville is like weirdly connected to September 11th and for the memory of many people. And then now being connected to Allison Mack, Jesus. What a mess. She's still in prison. She will be in prison for a long time, is my understanding. I forget exactly what she got convicted of, but I want to say human trafficking. Like it's a hot mess.
Why would
and
you
disgusting.
Throw away everything for that. But again,
she
it's a
felt
cult.
like she was building her career through this. And what's funny is all these people who wanted to be actors and be more successful in the real world got so sucked into the cult, they then put all of their labor into Nexium and then we're not acting as much. Like that's what, when you hear Bonnie's story, she was barely making any money and she was doing all this work for Nexium, like sort of as an employee, but then also paying to attend classes. It's like MLM 101, right? Like you hear it back and it's like, this is crazy, but they get you like a little bit at a time. It's the boiling the frog thing, right? 1 degree, 1 degree, 1 degree, 1 degree.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a tipping point where you sort of wake up and it's like, how the hell did I get here? And that's where, and then she had that awakening and then left. And she left before her husband did, with a long stretch of time where she was trying to get him out and he wasn't hearing it, months and months and months, to the point where they almost divorced. So hearing all this, and she was on her own and she was afraid they were going to come after her because they've gone after other people before. There's suspected murders that have happened. Like it is crazy.
God.
I feel like I'm getting, by the way, I don't work for the show. I have no stake in this, I have no stock in this show. Except to tell you that like, if you're a Star Wars fan, I find it compelling when there's someone who like really in the like the part of Star Wars who've done something really interesting in their real lives. Like, check that stuff out. This was such a newsworthy situation too, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my god, that's Bonnie, that's Aunt Beru. I had no idea. And the timing of her being in Nexium was when I worked at Topps, so it's the kind of thing where like we did autograph signings with her and had no idea, you know, when she signed cards for us, that she was in it. And I think she escaped around 2017 2018, something like that.
Wow. So that's really
it's recent. Yeah, and then the sentencing
5
was during
years.
COVID, or during lockdown, I should say. We're still in COVID. During lockdown. So I want to say like sentencing happened for Rainier in 2021, or late 2020. So yeah. Anyway, check out Nexium on HBO.
The Vow.
Before they fucking pull it with all other content. It's all HGTV and nothing else.
I'm just starting to watch Harley Quinn, and I'm dying. It's so funny.
That show is terrific. If they
like
don't renew that,
Alan Tudyk, Raul Coley as what is it, the Scarecrow? Like, oh my god,
he's great making the coffee.
The scene that I posted earlier today where he rips off Batman's mask and he's like, oh my, and the Joker realizes that it's Bruce Wayne. Oh my god, I was in tears. He's like,
he's upset about his electric car. Yeah, I put money down, Bruce. It's so fun. And meanwhile, we know who we're making fun of there. So yeah, they were ahead of the curve on that one.
Oh, totally. But it was just, it's been so much fun, and I'm like, I swear to God, HBO, if you cancel this, I'll be so pissed.
I don't know. I gotta tell you, the concern I have is that the 2024 slate for all franchises, like I said, is going to be smaller. But with content evaporating and being canceled in production, we're going to have a lot less. I feel like we're going to go from feast to famine very quickly. Because some stuff is just going to organically not catch on and they're going to have to get rid of. It's sort of like when you have cuts at any organization, you cut too deep and then when cuts happen, people leave. Like, I think good people are not going to want to work with networks who are canceling content. And so what's going to happen? And WB is still trying to figure out, what does their superhero universe look like for DC? They haven't announced a plan. And even when they announce a plan, you need years to pre-produce and then produce and then flight. Like, you're looking at 2026 before we get a real start, I would think, right? So what do you do for 3 years? Like, what's going to happen? I know we still have Shazam.
The old content.
Yeah, I mean, we have Shazam and we have Aquaman, and I guess they're doing that Joker 2 with Lady Gaga, which I still think is the April Fool's joke. I don't understand.
No, it's happening, and I'm just like, okay. Yeah. They're also going to do the Batman. The sequel for the Batman.
Oh, that's right.
That is happening.
Which is not part of the DCEU universe, though.
Right.
That's just
the Penguin series is also still a go. Like, it is. James Gunn admitted that it's going to go forward. So I'm like,
we already did that. What are we doing? We already had a Penguin series with Robin Lord Taylor, and it was great.
I know. I love him. I love him so much. He was absolute sweetheart. But yeah, I guess it's going forward with Colin Farrell. So
I like Colin Farrell. I'm not gonna. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
they canceled a movie
went
with
through
Michael Keaton.
A whole phase with buying all Colin Farrell's movies. That's what I do when I really like an actor. I just buy all their movies. And
see, my husband does that with directors. We are of the type where back when we still had a really big DVD and Blu-ray collection, he organized the wall by director, so I couldn't find anything, and I was like, "This is just to annoy me." And Criterion had its own section, and then sometimes
that should, because that's the snobby. Even when I worked at Newberg Comics, we had the Criterion collection, and it was separate from everything.
And then sometimes genre, I was like, "Can we just put all the horror movies in one space? Like that would help me tremendously." I was like, I would just like to do them.
Come on.
I would like to do it alphabetical. I would like to organize it alphabetically by movie title, please. But instead, there's like a complicated hierarchy. But I get it. I get if you want to put all your directors.
But
together.
It also helped your IMDb skills.
Sure. I would just ask him, where is it? It's like, where the hell is it if I can't find it? Now,
love it.
I think actually the return to physical media is going to be interesting because we know that vinyl is booming.
Oh Newberry is all about it.
Yeah,
we used to be like a huge CD, DVD.
And you know what's funny though? Music isn't getting deleted anywhere. So the fact that vinyl is booming kind of doesn't make sense to me because music isn't being removed from platforms. Movies are. So I'd be surprised why Blu-rays and 4K discs and everything aren't also booming. Because I'd rather have that. I don't it's hard to delete music. Truly. Music will live. Movies and TV, as we've seen, can be erased really easily.
Yeah.
So I actually think if you're going to invest in something, make your physical media collection more movie centric. By the way, we own way too much vinyl. So I'm trying to get rid of some. I also just bought a vinyl very recently.
Clueless.
A disc. Yeah. Oh, and that that was a laser disc. That was the Laserdisc to
That was
have.
oh yeah, I thought
Because
you
we
had
wanted the
soundtrack.
size.
Oh, that's right.
Oh wait, was it the soundtrack? See, I don't even remember anymore. Is one or the other. We probably bought both, and hopefully one of them arrived in time.
Yeah, I think you got the laser disc for that one. That was cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So Dave, let's go through the list. Henry Cavill's out, which I think we need to talk about off air because I have interesting thoughts there. Gal Gadot is gone. Ben Affleck, we didn't think
which
was
is a
coming back
crime.
anyway.
Yeah.
Jason Momoa has not been let go, but we assume because one, Aquaman made $1 billion, and we still have to do the second one, and you're not going to fire someone before the second one comes out. And I think that's true for Shazam as well. But like they canceled that Batman movie. And they've canceled and they've removed the Batgirl movie rather, which had Michael Keaton. I kind of don't know like who's left there. Like there's discussions that maybe they'll keep Ezra Miller after the Flash, but I thought the whole point of the multiverse is that we can get a new version. Like, why wouldn't you recast the Flash of all of them? Like he makes the most sense to recast. So I don't know, but I also don't run the place and it's not my license. I hope that James Gunn has a plan because I think DC has suffered from not having a plan. Marvel got away with not having a plan in the very beginning because they were testing out a couple things. But then when those things landed, they formed the Avengers. And then from there, there's actually a solid plan. You might not like the plan or all points of the plan, but oh man, I know what's happening in phases 4, 5, 6, and 7, basically. What's coming and when and how much is coming and who's in it and who's directing it and when it's coming out.
It's huge. And I know people are like, oh, finally something in the MCU that I can actually watch now. It's like, shut up. Like there's so much good stuff that's happened. Yeah, it's been so good.
You know what it is? It gets watered down when people are like, well, that wasn't for me and that wasn't for me and that wasn't for me. If you didn't like Moon Knight or Ms. Marvel or Werewolf by Night or whatever, things are too weird and you want to get back to like the original Captain America movie, right? Like that's very
but
basic.
We can't because he's gone. Like
right.
No matter how you like
that type of storytelling, right? Like they actually gave us one of those with like Black Widow. Like that was sort of a phase 2 movie placed in phase 4. I didn't think there was anything all that exciting about it. I think if it came out 5 years prior, we would have lost our fucking minds for it. But because it came out when it did, it was overlooked. And I think even Shang-Chi was a little bit like that. Like it was very beat for beat, like a basic superhero movie, except that it was an all Asian cast. So, which I talked about in another podcast where I was like, if you take tropes of like something that's been done to death, but you swap out ethnicity or gender or a sexual orientation or something, it could be interesting for a minute. And I actually think that's what really landed for Shang-Chi. The more interesting things about that movie were not the typical comic book stuff, it was the Asian culture component of it. Like that's what was captivating. Like the rest of it was like beat for beat any standard superhero movie, but like the choreography was very not good. Karate, but like martial arts, and then all the culture stuff, like that was really, really cool. I wanted more of that. And I'm hoping that the Marvels really give us like, what does it mean to be a superhero and be female? Like that's a whole thing that they won't address it out loud, right? Like make it about that. Ms. Marvel did it a little bit about being a kid more so than being like female, right? Hers was more about being young and coming into her powers, which would have worked with a boy either. I was like, I'd love to hear like, you know, a woman superhero. We didn't really even get that with Black Widow because she was about being a double agent and not really having her own personality, like her own identity, right? Like that's what I think they can do in that space.
Agreed. And I'm excited about it.
Oh yeah, Stephen Amell's coming back. That's right. That would be cool. All right, so we can't sit here and correct the entire slate of all franchises. I'm very
that would
busy.
Be nice. Yeah, so, we kind of have a lot going on.
Yeah, got a lot of balls in the air,
especially with the VCN this week.
Yes, yeah. Let's get into what's coming. So Thursday, everyone tune in for the watch along. We've got 3 very special guests from the production side of The Mandalorian as the countdown to Mando season 3, the march toward Mando season 3 continues on VCN Thursday night watch along. So it's really fun.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. Really, really looking forward to it.
Tomorrow we're starting the happy hour watch along of Bad Batch. So
and that's going to be 7 o'clock happy hour.
Happy hour starts at 7 Eastern, and the watch along will start an hour after that, around give or take. So at 8 o'clock Eastern. Nice. 4 and 5 Pacific, and So we'll be watching basically a week late all the episodes through the season on Tuesdays from starting tomorrow.
That'll be really fun.
Yeah.
So
I think it'll be nice to get the group together. I'm dying to hear what everyone has to say, because that's
so
not recorded. Case, that's not flighted.
No,
so that's
not
just
broadcast. So it's everybody just watching. We can have our
bring your strong opinions, everyone. Yeah.
Yes.
It's not going to make it to air, so you can bring your strong opinions.
Yes, and we can talk as much smack about the show as we feel fit.
Well, can I pose a question to the group unrelated to Bad Batch? I think going into this now, right? Like, we have multiple streaming shows from Disney, from Star Wars. Are people feeling overwhelmed by the quantity of content? And what would they like to see for 2023 and 2024? Do we want to slow down? Do we want shorter seasons? I remember at one point people were saying like 6 episodes isn't enough. And then you do a 12 episode season of something, and like, that's too many. I want 8. It's like, whatever it is, like, there's always these like overcorrections, right?
Yeah.
Like, what do we want? Do we want more movies hitting streaming directly where we could just get them whenever we want? Or do we want like event movies in theaters? Like, what are people looking for in fandom and in genre? I got to tell you right now, I think horror is doing it right. They're putting out a variety of movies of all different types, and they're all doing really well at the box office. And then they're crushing it on streaming as well. Like, that genre has figured it out. And I think right now, sci-fi, fantasy, superhero, I don't want to say is struggling, but I think we're dealing with oversaturation. I think we finally actually hit the point where it's like we may have too many superhero movies. And I know they've been saying that for 15 years, but I think it's actually happening now. I think it is actualized in 2022. So I'd love to pose that question to the group.
So
yeah,
it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
I'm sorry to assign homework. All right, so Tuesday, come to happy hour, prepared with your notes, your essay. Everyone's going to get 5 minutes to go around the room. Thursday for the watch along, and then if you haven't done so yet, watch Frank's show on autographing.
Yeah, that show was awesome this week. So definitely check out Celebrating Autographs. The special guest this Thursday on the Mandalorian season 3 watch along are Bryce Rankins and Brian Romero, who are confidentiality PAs on the Mandalorian, and they also run a podcast. And my girl Mary Carr, I'm so excited she's going to be on with you guys. Mary's a sweetheart, love her. She is a franchise asset coordinator on the Mandalorian. So they will have a lot of
number to text her. So
yes, they'll have a lot of really cool stuff to talk about this week. So don't miss it.
That'll be really fun. And of course, it's January. It's cold. Stay home on Thursday.
Yeah,
that's what I'm doing. I'm gonna watch along. That's what I did last right. That's what I did last week. It was way too cold for me to be outside, so I'm gonna stay home and watch the watch along. And I think that's everything going on. Do we have a unifying force or a Jedi Archives this weekend?
Dave needs to chime in the chat.
Yeah, Dave, where are you? You've been here the whole chat. Tell us what's happening this weekend. Oh my God, we're so over time. I love that we finished the episode ages ago, and we just got into a rant about how we're going to fix DC. So you guys,
that's how you roll.
Sticking around. Sarah, I see you, Sarah and Dave and everyone else who's been around. Sherry. I didn't actually say hello to everyone, but I see you in the comments. We really appreciate the long form discussion with everyone. And
of course.
Yeah. And don't worry, if you snuck out early, it's okay. We don't take attendance. Archives this week. Got it. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Dave.
The topic. You're doing a great job there. Pitch the show. Everyone tune in for Jedi Archives this week. Dave will add to the chat or in the next there'll be a post, I assume, to tell us what the topic is going to be for Sunday. But and they'll talk about it on the Thursday show. I'm so excited about Thursday. I love having the behind the scenes team.
And just so you guys know, the Boonta Eve merch site is open until the 18th, I believe. So if you have got your tickets, but you want to get more merch, don't forget to go shopping on that site. It'll be closing soon, so don't miss out.
Great. And I guess that's everything. All right. Well, thank you guys for spending an hour and a half with us as we reviewed one episode of Star Wars Rebels. We will continue to do this every week throughout this is going to set the pace for 2023. We're going to keep it a nice tight 1 hour next week. So, but this was really fun getting to hang with you guys and do a watch along.
Of course.
Yeah. And we'll, and tomorrow, hopefully we'll see you guys for Bad Batch.
Yeah. Don't miss that. So that way you can go in the chat and be frustrated about the tactical errors like we can.
Yeah. We'll fight it. It'll be good times.
It will be good times. Well, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next Monday. May the
Bye,
force be
guys.
with you. Bye.